Come get pics.
Bismillah. He is the benevolent, the giving and merciful. He's so indescribable. His love is irreversible, word undeniable, lyrically untriable, ultimately viable, eternally supplyable, maybe inconceivable, but beautifully believable. The true reality, there's no similarity. Gave us more than charity, peace and prosperity. Why did we never care to see it? We can keep His clarity. The Almighty, the Father metaphorically, but in the history they tried to make His word a mystery. Gave him mortality, anthropomorphic fallacy. Say He's got a seed, they can never bring the proof to me. And honestly, the greatest, the best, beyond time and space, beyond matter and flesh. Yes, He's uncomparable, yet His parables infinitely listed pictures couldn't give a good description. The pictures missing, but He created all the living in every dimension, and He inspired what I'm giving, the giver of wisdom, devoid of any needs. Anything that He wants, all He has to say is be, cause He's the untouchable, infinitely trustable, His plan unstoppable.
Assalamu alaikum, my sister.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Ramadan Mubarak.
And Ramadan Kareem.
Let us open in prayer. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Say, I seek refuge in Allah against the accursed Satan. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve. Thee alone do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path you bestowed your favors upon, and not the path you brought your wrath down upon, nor those who've gone astray after hearing thy teachings. Ameen. Allahu Akbar. So, brothers and sisters, as we always open, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to season 2 of the 99 attributes of Allah in 30 days. Today we're on day 5, live at 5. Praises be to Allah. Well, we take 3, or today we're going to take 3 attributes and go into their meanings and their usage in our environment. You know, Sister Sadiyah, Allah says to us in the Holy Quran, Allah, there is no God except He, and to Him are the most beautiful names.
Believers, these beautiful names are the 99 attributes Allah found in Islam. The 99 characteristics of Islam, of Allah, God, reflect the noblest of qualities and abilities. They represent the perfect ideal for the human being to inspire to.
Yes, and you know, beloved sister, in Surah 7 that we read yesterday, verse 180, you know what's beautiful about that ayat? It talked about walking away from those who defile the names of Allah, you know, but Allah says, call on Him by whatever name, right? And that's so beautiful because He says, and He will hear our call. So brothers and sisters, in Islamic tradition, it says to derive your manners from the attributes of Allah. Therefore, our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have said, cultivate within yourselves the attributes of Allah.
And our minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, tweeted, when you have an attribute of God, you should strive for degrees of excellence in that attribute.
And this is why, brothers and sisters, we're going to show this next clip, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan really is showing us in his words when he was in Egypt, December 1997, answering a question. And he really shows us what the Prophet said, cultivate within yourselves the attributes of Allah. And when you have degrees of excellence on an attribute, then strive for degrees of excellence in that attribute. Because he said, beneficence came to us, mercy came to us. Let us go to the clip.
We believe that the Mahdi has come and that he came in the person of W. Farad Muhammad. And why do we say Allah? Because if you look at the attributes of Allah, starting with mercy, beneficence, starting with Malik, a judge, or Rabbil Alameen, one who nurtures something from one stage and makes it attain stage after stage until it reaches perfection. He's Wali, the protecting friend. He's Jabbar. He's all of this. Well, you tell me, who visited us since I came up in America that most of you are afraid of? But I have no fear of that is the power in the world. Who protects me? You don't, they don't. But I come and go as I please because Allah is with me. He came to us. His beneficence and his mercy raised me. I never was taught in Al-Azhar, nor in any school of theology in the Islamic world. But if you listen to me, you will know that I have been taught by a master, because no master over here has defeated and can defeat what I have been taught of a master. I am here to awaken a world that has gone to sleep. If you listen to me and hear what I say, you will awaken to your responsibility and come back to Allah.
Allahu Akbar.
Akbar.
Praise be to Allah. So today on day 5, episode 5, we have with us none other than our beloved sister attorney Sadiyah Kareem. Oh, my bad. Sadiyah. It's
That's
Ramadan. So Sadiyah. Sadiyah Kareem. Praise be to Allah. So you ready, sister?
Absolutely.
Praises be to Allah. So at the time we turn it over to you.
Praise be to Allah. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness to his living and exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I bear witness to our divine reminder, warner, love manifest, and that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I greet the believers in the words and peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And Ramadan Mubarak.
And Ramadan Kareem.
Praise be to Allah. So my attributes for today. Now, many of y'all know that I'm an attorney. I've been a practicing attorney for the past 21 years now. And next month is in a few days, April 4th. And, you know, I personally asked to be able to help with these attributes. And that's al-mutaqin, al-muqsi, and al-adl. Now, why are these 99 attributes of Allah? Why must we study them? One is because it shows us how to know Allah. And if we study the names and the attributes of Allah, then we can know his essence, since we are created in his image, his likeness, and his essence. And then that's another way to understand who Allah is and how he shows up in our life and in our environment. And then it allows one to know what he was created for and how he was created. And so if you have a special attribute that you incline towards, and one of these attributes I most definitely incline towards, Minister Farrakhan blessed my family to give us the name Kareem, and which means the generous one. And so, you know, I really never focused on that particular attribute until that was given to us. And now I am striving for degrees and excellence. And so that's another reason why we should study these attributes for Allah, because it helps develop our own character. But also we must study these attributes so that we may not only neglect Allah in recognizing and acknowledging who he is, but also he made us into himself. So when we study him, we're in actuality studying ourselves. Praise be to Allah. So our first attribute of the day, we'll start with al-adl. Al-adl. I did that right, brother?
Alhamdulillah. Adl.
I've been practicing.
Alhamdulillah.
which means the just, the embodiment of justice, the one entitled to do what he does. In Surah 1690, it says, surely Allah enjoins justice and the doing of good to others and giving to the kindred, and he forbids indecency and evil and rebellion, and he admonishes you that you might be mindful. All right, so I'm big on parsing words, clearing words. So let's clear the word just. Just is an adjective that describes Allah. It is his name, a proper noun, and it is also an adjective. And so just means having a basis in or conforming to fact or reason, reasonable, conforming to a standard of correctness, proper, uprightness, acting or being in conformity with what is morally upright or good, aka righteousness, and being what is merited, deserved, legally correct, and lawful. So some synonyms are equitable, fair, just, impartial, even-handed, and rightful. Justice as a noun. It's the maintenance or administration of what is just, especially by the impartial and just adjustment of conflicting claims or the assignment of merited rewards or punishments. It's the quality of being just, impartial or fair, conformity to truth, fact, or reason, correctness. All right. So in essence, adl means, I got it. Adl means moderation. Adl is above oppressing or being inequitable to anyone in his decrees and his action. So rather, Allah grants everyone what is due to him. He puts everything in its right place. Nothing ensues from him except justice. He is justice. He is the embodiment of justice, and he does whatever he pleases. And we know that Allah is the most just. So this requires that every person should be rendered, right, all of his rights, whether morally, whether socially, whether economically, legally, politically, he has all of his rights. So when we talk about equality and we talk about justice in this sense, we'll talk about equality in the next attribute, but we're more so talking about making or giving a person what is due him. What are his rights? So for example, right, you have the parents have rights. Is that right? You have the children have rights, right? And then you have the husband versus the wife has rights, the teacher versus the students. So everything in creation has rights according to its creation. Now in Holy Quran, it makes me think of the wise man and Moses. If we go to Surah 18, ayat 60, starting there. And I had a conversation with my daughter, as a matter of fact, on today. And we had to talk about the parents' rights and the children's rights. And I had to give her this example in the Holy Quran where Moses wanted to walk with the wise man. And in walking with the wise man said, you know, we're going to have to part ways because you're not going to understand the things that I do. Why? It's because I have or encompass what you call comprehensive knowledge. And see, Allah knows what we know not. And so as the wise man was walking with Moses, the wise man was taking particular actions. One of them, he capsized the boat. Why? He told in the end, Moses didn't understand. The next thing that he did is he caused a child to die. Moses, he was upset behind that. How could you kill someone that's innocent? He started questioning the wise man. And then Moses and the wise man went to a city where they were rude to him, rude to them. And the wise man saw that there was a wall that was about to collapse. And he took his time, his energy, his resources to make sure that wall did not collapse. And Moses was like, well, why don't we ask for payment to do that on behalf of this city? And the wise man was like, look, we're going to have to separate ways because you don't understand what I am saying because you don't have comprehensive knowledge. So in the end, the wise man had to explain to him I had to capsize the boat for the simple fact that the individuals that was coming behind the person who owned the boat was trying to take what was in it. So he was saving the treasure. And then when the wise man had to take the life of the young lad, the wise man had to explain to Moses, look, the wise lad was not being obedient. He was not being a good child. And Allah is going to bless the parents with the most obedient and loving child. And then finally, the wall that was about to collapse, there was treasure underneath that belonged to some orphans. And so the wise man wanted to make sure that those treasures were protected. And so as I was explaining to my child, there are certain things that you may not understand, but Allah always knows what's right. And he always is the best knower. And he gives us what's due and what's right. And so in Surah 53:39, Allah says, and that man can have nothing but what it strives for. And so it's the reaping and the sowing. You get what you sow. You get what you put into. And so there is a balance there. And so that is adl. Al-adl. All right, let's talk about al-muqsi. Did I get that right? Praise be to Allah. Okay, we got yesterday's attributes up on the screen right now. But we have al-muqsi. And al-muqsi is the equitable, the one who is just in his judgment. And in Surah 3:18, it says, Allah bears witness that there is no God but he, and so do the angels and those possessed of knowledge, maintaining justice. There is no God but he, the mighty, the wise. Praises be to Allah. So al-muqsi, he is the one who perfectly balances the punishment with the crime. He brings satisfaction to the victim while holding the perpetrator accountable in equitable measures, in equal measures. And so al-muqsi comes from the word kist, which means scale or balance. And kist, the implanting of justice by taking what one unlawfully has acquired and giving it back to its rightful owner. And so ikisat is given his or her lawful share, which someone else has unlawfully taken forcefully or otherwise. And so when we look at the word kasata, am I saying that right, brother? Kasata, implemented justice. So we looked at al-adl, right? Justice. And so when we look at al-muqsi, then let's reflect on the flag of Islam. We got the sun, the moon, and the stars, freedom, justice, and equality. So when we look at al-adl, we look at justice, which the stars represent justice. And then when we look at al-muqsi, then let the moon reflect the equality of Allah and his justice. And so Allah, he's just in all of his dealings and affairs, and he makes a stand for justice. And so when you look at someone who has the qualities of al-muqsi, he is the one who sees some injustices, right? And we can look to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on this. And he takes a stand for those who are being oppressed and suppressed. But at the same time, we know that Master Fard Muhammad came for the Black man and the Black woman in North America. And what did he do? He came to right a wrong. He came to give us back what was rightfully ours. See, the enemy took our name. He gave us back our names. He took our land. He gave us back our land. He took who we are and the knowledge of ourselves. And see, we lost the knowledge of ourselves, which is akin to the knowledge of God. And that is one who has force and power and one who is a God. So when Allah came, he came to make us all into himself. All praises be to Allah. Because again, when you look at the essence of Allah and who we are made in his nature, and we are his creation. So we are of the upright one. So praises be to Allah. So we're talking about al-muqsi. Now, this next attribute, al-muttaqin. I love this attribute. I feel very inclined towards this attribute. And that's the attribute of Allah, that of the avenger. He is the disapprover. He is the inflictor of retribution. In the Holy Quran in 32:22, it says, and who is more iniquitous than he who is reminded of the message of his Lord, then he turns away from them. Surely we exact retribution from the guilty. Praises be to Allah. So let's clear the word avenge. It means to take vengeance for or on behalf, or to exact satisfaction for a wrong by punishing the wrongdoer. Disapprove, which is a transitive word. It means to pass unfavorable judgment on and to refuse approval or to reject. And to retribute is a verb which means to pay back, to give in return as payment, reward, punishment, or to requite. So al-mutakin is derived from the noun intikam. Isn't that your word, brother Ali?
Yeah, ittikam,
Ittikam.
revenge, ittikam.
He loves watching those Turkish movies, but one of the things that they always say as they're fighting is let's avenge, ittikam, right? So avenging or seeking revenge against someone. It's a penalty. A penalty is not a penalty unless it has two conditions, which are met. And when we're talking about Allah and his grace and his beneficence and his merciful, we know that he is oft returning to mercy. But in those conditions, he always gives us a way out, always gives us a way out, clemency or leniency. And when our leniency reaches the limits or exceeds the limits of extreme outrage, then Allah, he steps in as al-muttaqin. Now, we know that he doesn't hate the person, but he hates that particular act that exacts his punishment. And so when his punishment is affected after a period of respite or a period of temporary delay, know this for a fact that he is given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to correct that wrong. And so we thank Allah that he is such a merciful God, that he gives us an opportunity to get back on the right path. And so you hear us in our prayer, we say that we have been unjust to ourselves, right? And we confess our faults. And a lot of times, we have to avenge or ask for a vengeance on our own selves, to murder the devils that are within our own selves. We can talk about the tyrants, right? We can talk about the American government. We can talk about the lords of this world and these systems of this world, right? Because Allah is the Lord of the universe, and he has come to change the systems of this world. But we're talking about exacting punishment on those who hear Allah's commands, but who disobeys and who willfully is disobedient. So praise be to Allah. Allah has a limit to his mercy. And as human beings, we have limits to our mercy as well. As a parent, and as parents, how many times, we know the capacity or the potential in which our children have, right, in certain situations. But after we ask them time and time again, and we give them mercy and grace, at some point in time, mercy runs out. And then the wrath or the vengeance of Allah comes in. Now, how does that look? Some people say don't spare the rod. Some people use, in their intelligence. In my house, we use Allah and the love of Allah and discipline, right? So discipline doesn't necessarily mean violence, but I read the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that without discipline, there is no love. And so when Allah, he gives us vengeance, it's an opportunity for us to get back on that straight path, right, from which we deviated. And because he's so beneficent and merciful to us, he manifests in so many ways in our lives by giving us so much that sometimes we become ungrateful. And then he intercedes in our life with particular punishments or hard necessary trials so that we may be able to purify ourselves and get right back on to the straight path. And so it says in Surah 2:190, and fight in the way of Allah against those who fight against you, but be not the aggressors. Surely Allah loves not the aggressors. And so, as an avenger, I consider myself one with the attribute of al-mutaqin. And I give you a personal testimony. I was always the one in school who hated the bullies, right? If I saw someone being bullied, I felt compassion and empathy for that individual. And then I had the ability to confront those who were bullying that individual. And I can't tell you how many fights that I got into. I didn't want to get into them, truth be told, but it was necessary, because there will come a time that you cannot stand on the wayside when you see your person, your family member, your child, or somebody else being oppressed, right? Or being bullied. And we can look at a perfect example, right? We can look towards Master Fard Muhammad, who not only did he come to seek and save us, but he also comes, right, as the judge, right? Seeking judgment on those who oppressed us. And so we are now living in the time of that judgment. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his Savior's Day lecture told us that the war of Armageddon has begun. And we know as believers that the enemy has continuously tried to slander and defame the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's name and his works. They tried to be a bully, but he is backed by one who is the avenger, who is Al-Mutakim, right? He is backed by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is Al-Mutakim and has those attributes. And so when we fight with Allah, right, and he is on our side, then as Muslims, as believers, what? We will surely win. So all praises be to Allah. And see, as Al-Mutakim, we know that we are in a time of judgment. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that there will be 4 great judgments that Almighty God is bringing upon America. And we are witnessing. All you have to do is turn on the news right now. And we see that Al-Mutakim, the avenging God, he is on the scene. He is bringing what? Rain, hail, snow, and earthquake, right? I was reading in the news today, Mississippi on Sunday morning, whole town was obliterated. California, unprecedented snow and floods all at the same time. On the East Coast, now Midwest is going to experience some more tornadoes and storms, right? That is Al-Mutakim exacting his judgment. He has given a period of respite or a period of delayed judgment, opportunity for mercy after mercy after mercy. Why? Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, it's because America is filled with devils and has such unclean persons living in America that the true symbolism of the hateful bird there is in everything about America is filthy, slimy. And so Allah had to come in the person of Master Fard Muhammad to exact not only a judgment, but to avenge us, right? His people, right? And that is none other than the Black man and the Black woman. So praises be to Allah. So in closing, Al-Adl, Al-Muqsit, Al-Mutakim, Allah, he is just, he is equitable, and he is an avenger. And don't you want to have that kind of God on your side, that when there is a wrong, he brings balance to that situation, and he will right that wrong on your behalf. And then when those who continuously wrong you and forsake Allah over and over and don't believe in his justice, that he will come in. We can go to the courts, right? But when we can go to Allah and Allah exacts justice on our behalf, and avenge us on his behalf, then we know that we will surely win and we will be made whole. So praises be to Allah. And last thing, and you'll find this in our paper, right? The final call. And the minister said he'll never take this out of the paper, the Muslim program and what we believe in and what the Muslims want. And that's none other than point number 12. When we believe that God appeared in the person of Fard Muhammad, who came to us, right? July 1930, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. And we believe further and lastly that Allah is God, and besides him, there is no God, and he will bring about a universal government of peace wherein we can all live in peace together. And through justice, right? Through avenging us with judgment, because in point number 6 and what the Muslims believe, we believe in the judgment. We believe this first judgment would take place as God revealed in America. And so there will be a universal peace. There will be a universal government. And that is Allah, the Aldo, the Al-Aldo, the Al-Musik, and the Al-Mutakin. So praises be to Allah.
Praises be to Allah. Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Praises be to Allah, my dear sister. You know, as you were talking, this reminded me of this, the word adl, adl. It reminded me of this verse in the Quran, because one of the definitions for adl is to make an equality between two things or between two people. So, I want you to talk about this verse and what that looked like, right? And I think that's a very important concept, right? To make equal between two people, right? So this verse says, this is the concept. The word is not, Abdul is not found here, but
Right.
I think the concept is here, right? It says, this is my brother. He has 99 ewes and I have a single ewe. Then he said, make it over to me, and he has prevailed against me in dispute. He said, surely he has wronged thee in demanding your ewe to add to his own ewes. And surely many partners wrong one another, save those who believe and do good, and very few do. And David knew that we had tried him, so he asked his Lord for protection, and he fell down bowing and turned to Allah. So talk to us about the importance of that verse and how that was a trial for David to make that appropriate call and justice for the one who only had a single ewe.
So Allah, he blesses us with what we strive for. When we sow, we reap. And so here you have a man, if I'm understanding, who had 99 ewes, right? Animals, right? And he wanted that other man's animal, right?
His brother.
His brother. He wanted to take
Ahi.
from him, right? Something, one, that he didn't strive to get, right? And so the one that had the one, he strove for that with his means, and to take it away would create injustice, right? And it would take the balance away. And we know that injustice makes one, right, mentally unstable. And Allah came to make, when you look at a balance, Allah gives us fulcrums, and we talk about this in the study guides, right? Bringing balance. And so when something is unbalanced, Allah will use a fulcrum to make it balanced. Doesn't mean that it's equal, but he will balance it. And so in this situation, Allah has blessed this one, right? But to take it away from him, it would create an imbalance. And Allah gives us what are due rights. And so this would have taken away his right to that one hue that he strove for.
And I'm glad you mentioned balance, because that's the definition, one of the meanings of the word qasata, right? Is to balance. It's justice, but that word also means balance. And it also deals with to act justly and unjustly, contrary meaning. So talk to us about that.
So I can give two examples, one as a parent, and then I give one as being an officer of the court. So as a parent, I have 7 children, and they range from 23 on down to 9. And there had been many conversations where my 9-year-old would get upset because I would do something different for my 13-year-old or my 15-year-old, right? Mama, why I can't do that? Or even for my 23-year-old. And I tell them that just does not necessarily mean equal, right? So I have to be with the reasoning and the knowledge and the forethought of what your capabilities and your potentials are at this dispensation of time, right? I can't give you the keys to the car until you go ahead, go down the street, go get some milk, right? Because that would be unjust to you, because I put you in harm's way. But as you develop over time, right, then you have the potential and the capacity to be able to take on more responsibilities. And so I have to be fair with my children where they are and what their potential is, right? And drive them into help them create balance, but see that, equal is not necessarily fair, because then I would be unjust to you in that aspect. And the other thing with court, a lot of times I have a client who may be a first offender.
Mhm.
Okay. They may have stolen something. They're 19 years old,
Mhm.
first time, and they get in, if they have a fair judge, right?
Mhm.
In that aspect, we're able to put them in there. They may be guilty of that particular crime. And so they'll be on what's called a deferred adjudication of probation. They have an opportunity to be on probation and get their record sealed versus someone who done stole 20 different times, brother Eileen, right? And cares nothing about law.
Mhm.
And he will continuously keep on doing it, keep on doing it. His punishment, right? After mercy has come, after he's been in jail, his
Excellent.
punishment is going to be
Excellent.
greater and greater and greater. And that's how Allah is with us.
Yes.
He's merciful until he has to exact vengeance upon us. But it is still with love because it's always for our benefit so that we may be able to get back on the straight path.
You know, we normally ask our guests, and since you're in the guest seat today,
Yes, sir.
you know, and you have given us a few testimonials. So I want to ask you, what connections did you see in these three attributes with one another?
They're all interrelated, all interrelated. And, you know, in what I do as being a mother, wearing the hat as a mother, wearing the hat as being a lawyer, that if we strive to be like Allah in these attributes, to be fair, to be just, to not stand by the wayside when we see that there is oppression or injustices going, then we are helping in the establishment of a universal government of peace, right? And these are so necessary. And then when we look at our flag, right? Freedom, justice, and equality. This is the universe that we want to live in. This is Islam. And so they're all interconnected.
Excellent. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, justice is the principle of fair dealing one with another.
That's right.
So praise be to Allah. So thank you, my dear sister. Excellent
My
job.
pleasure, my
Praise
pleasure.
be to Allah. How it feels being in the guest seat?
You know, I take it, it's very sobering and serious coming before the believers always. And so I'm just honored and privileged, and I thank Allah for this opportunity to be used this way.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. Well, brothers and sisters, we have come to a conclusion of today's show, episode 5. Praises be to Allah. So we just have a few announcements for you. And tomorrow, we have our beloved Imam Sultan Rahman Muhammad, the student national imam, fasting in Islam, the month of Ramadan and beyond, a learner's guide. All of your Ramadan questions. We also have our beloved brother Dimitri, student minister Dimitri out of Memphis, the researchminister.com. You can go to the researchminister.com and order your 2023 journal, a Ramadan journal, the journal theme, defending point number 12, because right in point number 12, it told mercy came to us.
That's right.
Beneficent came to us.
That's right.
Right? And so as the minister here, never take that point from the back page of the paper. Praise be to Allah. So also tomorrow, Ramadan, the youth and the time. Alhamdulillah, I'll be on the show with the young brothers, young sisters on Closing the Gap broadcast, the youth show. Closing the Gap broadcast. We were on, they called it the mothership, right? The mothership show we were on last Saturday. So this Tuesday, tomorrow, inshallah, we'll be on the youth.
The baby planes.
The baby planes, right? The baby planes, right? Praises be to Allah. Such a wonderful show. And it's such an honor to go and have a dialogue discussion with them. And tomorrow, episode 6, straight out of the Chicago.
That's right.
Praise be to Allah, is our sister Naya Muhammad.
That's right.
She'll be coming. We want to thank her for accepting our invitation to come on to the show live out of Chicago, inshallah. Our beloved sister Naya Muhammad will be our guest for tomorrow, episode 6. Sister Sadiyah.
Yes. So we want to make sure that you listen to the replay. You can go to NOI Houston Mosque 45 on Facebook, or you can follow us on 99 The One on Facebook, The Most Beautiful Names, on Instagram, and hear the replay or see the replay again on our YouTube channel, 99 The One, The Most Beautiful Names. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. And once again, brothers and sisters, we thank you for coming and visiting with us today. We still have a few more hours to break that fast. So I learned a new phrase when we were on Closing the Gap. But student Mr. Chad said he got a date with the plate. So praise be to Allah, brothers and sisters. We thank you all. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And Ramadan Mubarak.